Only 20% of Alan Watts' core philosophy can help you master 80% of your entire life. You've probably heard countless powerful philosophies before, but still couldn't apply them, right? If that's you, then this video is exactly the one you've been waiting for. Hi, I'm Varael Soren, someone whose life changed in a truly remarkable way after applying the philosophy of Alan Watts. Alan Watts teaches that life isn't something you need to control. It's something you need to understand. And the moment I finally understood that, everything about the way I lived began to shift. That's what I want to pass on to you. If you've listened to deep philosophies, including Alan Watts, but couldn't bring them into your real life, drop a number 1 in the comments. I used to be exactly where you are, knowing a lot, but not knowing how to live it. My life didn't change because I pushed myself harder. It changed because I stopped fighting the current and learned to move with it. When you align with how the universe naturally works, things start to unfold in ways you never expected. What I share here isn't theory. It's what I actually did, the mistakes, the adjustments, the tiny daily shifts that changed everything. And you can start with the same simple steps. Today, let me ask you something simple. Have you heard of a rip current? Most Americans have, especially people living near the coast. But knowing what it is doesn't mean knowing how it works. The study estimations of rip current rescues and drownings in the United States shows that rip currents are responsible for over 80% of all beach rescues. Rip currents are the leading cause of beach-related deaths in the US. Nearly 80% of ocean drownings are caused by rip currents. Here is a truth almost no one sees coming. Rip currents kill more people on US beaches than hurricanes, lightning, or anything else out there. That certainly made me pause. Not the danger itself, but the fact that people don't die because they can't swim. They drown because they fight the wrong thing. A rip current moves fast, faster than the strongest swimmer. In the first few seconds, people think they can beat it. In the next few seconds, panic sets in, and within a minute, the body gives up. Not because the ocean is cruel, but because the instinct to fight feels so right, even when it's exactly what pulls you under. And when I learned this, something clicked. Life has rip currents too. Moments that suddenly pull you in a direction you didn't choose. A problem, a change, a conflict, a feeling you don't want to feel, a situation you can't control. And most of us respond the same way swimmers do. We fight, we push, we resist, we try to force everything back to the way we think it should be. And that's where we lose the most energy. Not in the situation, but in the resisting. When I understood that, I realized something deeper. The problem is not that life pulls us. The problem is that we don't understand the pull. Not because the ocean is cruel, but because the instinct to fight feels so right, even when it's exactly what pulls you under. I've always found that image incredibly human, because life has rip currents too. Not in the water, but in the moments that pull us unexpectedly. A harsh comment, a sudden change, a fear you thought you already outgrew, a disappointment that hits deeper than you want to admit. And just like in the ocean, something inside you gets pulled outward, away from where you feel safe, away from the version of life you thought you could hold on to. And what do? We fight, not because we're wrong, but because that's what every instinct tells us to do. We push against the situation, push against our emotions, push against reality, hoping it will snap back into what we want. But somehow, the more we push, the further we feel from ourselves. And that pull, that inner rip current, is something no one ever taught us to understand. No class in school, no course on emotional tides, no manual on how to stay calm when life moves differently than we expected. So we do the only thing we know. We struggle, we tense up, we try to regain control, we try to make the moment behave. And just like swimmers who exhaust themselves, we find ourselves drained, not because the current was too strong, but because the fight inside us was. The thing about rip currents is this: from the shore, they look completely normal. The water can seem calm, even safer than the surrounding waves. But underneath, a force is moving the opposite direction. Life is similar. You can look calm on the outside, even to yourself, but something underneath begins to pull, and sometimes you don't realize how strong it is until you're already far from where you began. What struck me most the first time I learned about rip currents wasn't the danger, it was how quietly they work, how silently they start, how ordinary the water looks. And that's how inner currents work too. A moment comes, and suddenly your mind is pulled. Your emotions are pulled. Your peace is pulled, not violently, but undeniably. And you're left thinking, how did I get this far from myself so quickly? Life has currents. Sometimes they pull you sideways, a job ending, a relationship changing, a sudden challenge. Sometimes they pull you outward, uncertainty, fear, new situations, uncomfortable truths. The mistake is thinking these currents are trying to drown you. They're not. They're simply part of the ocean. And here is what lifeguards teach, the one thing that saves people. When caught in a rip current, don't fight it. Don't try to swim against it. Let it carry you for a moment, then gently swim sideways, along the shore, until you're free. You move with the current, not against it. The moment you stop resisting is the moment you survive. Remember what we talked about earlier, the rip current. The thing that pulls people under isn't the water itself, it's the way they react to it. Life works the same way. What exhausts us isn't the difficulty, it's the way we fight against it. So what we need isn't a bigger battle. What we need is a few simple principles, so we can move with the current and slip out of it gently, instead of drowning in the struggle. A rip current is just one kind of pull in the ocean, but in life, we face currents that are far stronger, and they come from inside us. Stress and pressure piling up in everyday life. Relationships drifting apart, cooling down, or breaking in ways we didn't expect. Emotional turbulence, anxiety, fear, overthinking, pulling you off center. Health slipping, exhaustion, sleepless nights, a body that no longer feels balanced. Financial pressure, rising costs, debt, income that falls short of expectations. Sudden events that knock you off your direction. These are the currents that pull from within, and sometimes they're stronger than any wave out at sea. Most of you here have already heard a lot. You've read books, watched videos, learned psychology, philosophy, self-help, even those short wholesome lessons on social media. So why is it that most people still don't see real change? Is it because what you learned wasn't good? No, most of what you learned is good. The problem is somewhere else. There's simply too much to process at once. You get overwhelmed, confused, unsure where to begin. You try to apply everything and end up applying nothing. And that's exactly why Varael is here. I'm not here to give you hundreds of new things to learn. I'm here to offer you something much simpler, where to begin, and what the easiest first steps actually are. The videos that follow won't throw 100 tips at you. It'll give you small pieces, but the pieces that matter most, the ones you can use right away, and the ones that actually create real transformation. You've probably heard of the Pareto principle, right? 20% of the most important things create 80% of the results. In every part of life, there's always a small handful of things that truly matter. And then there's the 90/10 principle. The core 10% of understanding the flow, if you really master it, can shape 90% of the quality of your life. What's interesting is this. Most people spend 90% of their energy on the little things and completely overlook the 10% that actually matters. I'm not here to tell you everything. I'm here to give you the simplest things, the clearest things, the things you can actually apply. Just like escaping a rip current, you don't need 10 complicated techniques. You only need 1 or 2 basic principles. Life works the same way. If you can hold on to the simplest 20%, the pieces that truly matter, you can already take control of 80% of your life. And once that foundation is solid, we'll go into the core 10%, the essence. That's when you gain control over 90% of your life, more easily than you'd ever expect. If you're ready to begin this journey to navigate your life, not with complicated theories, but with the simple, core principles, inspired by Alan Watts, that can help you gently slip out of the current and start a new chapter. Then let's take that first step together. If you feel ready for this change, comment "ready" below and let me know you're prepared to master the core principles. So today, we explored the lesson about the rip current. The core lesson isn't about fighting a bigger battle. It's about learning how to stop resisting and move with the flow so you can gently slip out of it. And here is an extremely important image I want you to imprint for the rest of your life. I want you to remember the image of a boat drifting downstream. Make sure you never forget it. If your life isn't going smoothly, if everything feels difficult, remember this simple truth. You are rowing against the current. Don't try to row upstream for even one more second. Your only mission is to understand what the true current really is and learn how to flow with the water. Hold on to this image of the boat and remember the principle. If your life isn't going smoothly, you are rowing against the current. Stop rowing upstream. Find the flow. Follow the water, and you'll reach your destination and what you desire much more easily. In the next videos, I will show you how to move with the current. I will share with you the core 20%, the simplest, most essential things that allow you to master 80% of your life. Once you understand these simple core principles, everything begins to change. Once again, imprint this image in your mind. A boat gently flowing with the current. If you can, draw it out, share it, do whatever helps you make sure you never forget it. I truly appreciate you taking the time to spend with me today. If this message resonated with you, you're already closer to the flow of your own life. In the next videos, we'll take the first real step into understanding your current and how to move with it instead of against it. If you're ready for that, type "ready" in the comments. I'll see you in the next chapter. Remember the boat flowing with the water.